Continuing 5-2. To get us warmed up, yesterday we learned of a bunch of Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineer standards, such as Ethernet, which is 802.3, Bluetooth, 802.15, LLC, 802.2. How about Zigbee? 802.15.4. WiMAX. 802.4. And finally, wireless, which is 802.11. Who ya? Awesome. Now, yesterday, we alluded to, okay, those are the main ones, right? But for each of these, right, like Ethernet, there's subcategories, 802.3U, etc. We're going to, start today by going over the 802.11 standard. Shatson, what's that? 802.11. Wireless or Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi stands for wireless fidelity. Doesn't mean anything. But for 802.11, we're going to learn, if we scroll down, about all of the different standards. You go to the store and you want to buy a Wi-Fi router. They've got all these different markings on them. Well, what does that mean? So we're going to learn about those now. Starting with 802.11a. This is also known as Wi-Fi 2. This is in the 5 gigahertz frequency band. It can go up to 54 Mbps. That's a lowercase b. So what does that mean to us? Megabits. If it's uppercase, it's bytes, which is usually storage. For speed, it's bits. So 54 megabits per second. The maximum indoor range is 35 meters. Meters? Well, this is America. So that would be how many feet? 115 feet. Easy day? All right. 802.11b, this is known as Wi-Fi 1. This is not on the 5 gigahertz frequency band. This is on 2.4 gigahertz. So the frequency is about half, but the speed, Wi-Fi 802.11a, is 54 megs. 802.11b is 11 megabits per second, but the same range. Now, these operate on 2 different frequencies. So do you think if you have a 802.11 alpha router and an 802.11 Bravo laptop that they'll be able to communicate? No, because one's on 5 gigahertz, one's on 2.4 gigahertz. So they're speaking different language, or they're on different frequencies. Their paths are never going to cross. Who ya? All right, 802.11g, or Golf. This is Wi-Fi 3. Unlike 802.11a, which is 5 gigahertz, this is just like Bravo at 2.4 gigahertz. And like Alpha, it's not 2.4, but it is 54 megabits per second, and it has a larger distance. We added a whole 10 feet here. Now, because this is also 2.4 gigahertz, what else besides Golf that we've talked about is also 2.4 gigahertz? Bravo, right? So now if I have a Bravo router and a Golf laptop, can they communicate? Yes. They can. So this is backwards compatible. Even though Golf is newer than Bravo, it's that same frequency, it's going to be able to work. Easy day? 802.11n, known as Wi-Fi 4. What's special about this one is it's got 2 frequencies, 2.4 gigahertz as well as 5 gigahertz. And this took a massive speed increase to 600 megabits per second. The range now, 230 feet. Big deal when this came out, massive increase in the capability of wireless. Now, because there's 2 frequencies, this is backwards compatible to what previous 802.11 standards? A, B, and G, right? A for that 2.4, Bravo and Golf for the 5 gigahertz. So you may have seen a network like this before, where you go to someone's apartment or house, or even your own, and you see that there's two networks, right? Usually there's one, and then there's one labeled 5 gigahertz. Have you seen that before? So that's to allow whatever device, no matter what frequency they're using, to be able to connect. Easy day? All right, next, 802.11ac, Wi-Fi 5. This is just in the 5 gigahertz frequency band. So because of that, which 802.11 standards is it backwards compatible to? A and N as well, because N has both of those. This jumps up, again, tenfold to 6.9 gigabits per second, or 6,900 megabits per second. Now, the range isn't as much. This goes back down to 115 feet, but you do have a lot faster speeds. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. 802.11ax. This is also known as Wi-Fi 6. Just like 802.11n, this operates on two frequencies, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. So what is it backwards compatible to then? A, B, G, N, A, C, all of them, right? Which ones will it work with on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency? B, G, and N. What about for 5? A, N, and AC. All right, this jumps up a little bit to 9.6 gigabits per second, and the distance jumps up a little bit, back up 150 feet. 802.11ax, Wi-Fi 6E. The difference here for this is the frequency band. The only difference between Wi-Fi 6 and 6E is instead of 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, it operates at 1 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. Due to technology that was developed, this is also going to be backwards compatible to everything else. It's on that 1 and 6 gigahertz frequency, but using a lot of science, etc., it will work on the 2.4 and those 5 gigahertz. This is allowing the frequency band to open up more as a lot of devices use Wi-Fi. Take a second, write these down. We're going to go over these multiple times in this course, and we're going to see this again in CCNA. So you've got to know it for this course, and if you really memorize it, when we go over it again in CCNA, it'll just be review. Have we seen these before or heard of Wi-Fi 6? And what's that? Yeah. A lot of people take notes. That's good. It'd be a shame to not take notes and sit there doing nothing while you could be writing it down, even if you feel like you got it. That muscle memory, writing, is good. I may have too briefly gone over backwards compatible. Does the term backwards compatible make sense to everyone? Yes. Okay, it can be used with that older generation. Serna?
What allows it to have two separate frequencies?
The hardware inside allows it to have multiple frequencies. There's going to be two separate networks. So you have a 2.4 gigahertz network and a 5 gigahertz network, or for 6E, a 1 gigahertz and a 6 gigahertz network.
Switch that based on whatever it does.
Well, it's depending on the device, they'll join the different network.
Okay, that's cool.
Garner?
One that I noticed, for the maximum indoor range, what makes that up? I figure a multitude of things, but
Definitely a multitude of things. The power that device is going to push out, but also that signal type, right? They're both at that frequency, but the different science and technology that goes into it, that's the maximum range. Now, different vendors and manufacturers are going to really have different ranges of their own or how reliable they are, but that technology, right, the maximum you can do is that range.
okay.
Where you would need then, if you want to extend it, you would need something like an access point to do a wireless mesh network. Now, if you do those, right, you want to extend your Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi extenders, we've probably seen those before. You You want to read that fine print, something we all hate to do, because within there, that fine print, they may be collecting all of your data, all the packets that go through that extender, and then selling it to third parties. So you want to make sure you have one that's not going to do that.
At this point in time, anytime you have a device, you're done anyway. Why care anymore?
Yeah, well,
Minority Report.
analog's coming back. Never. We need more time? Okie dokie. You got your computer working, Morrissey? Cable issue? Oh, yours wasn't working. Awesome. Teamwork makes the Pixar? Oh, DreamWorks. And no one laughed.
No.
Not a good one. Ah, thanks. Brownie point.
Pull that ship humor back again just now. Nothing graphic with it. It's called maturity and wisdom all in one right there. Lack of maturity. But it's
What's the IEEE standard for wireless? 802.11. You obviously definitely need to know that because we just covered, how many? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different Wi-Fi standards, right? So if you don't know that it's 802.11, at least you're going to have a really hard day because we just learned about all of the different substandards for 802.11 wireless, Wi-Fi, wireless fidelity. All right, ready? No? Okay. This might be another good one for note cards. Marcy. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's available yet. That's also on the 1 and 6 gigahertz frequencies with a lot larger range. Yeah, well, they're backwards compatible, so they work.
I went to the hospital, and everyone was obsessed with throwing 5 kids. They were like, "Oh, we're just gonna 1-for-1 replace all the 2.4." And we tried to tell them, "No, you're not."
You don't need to.
Well, in a hospital environment with like 100, it's like we literally had to go like put access points at every like 20 feet.
Yeah, you're definitely scanning to see where it's at and everything. And there's a lot of medical equipment that throws off the frequencies. In fact, your microwave, if you open up your microwave door, you can see what frequency it operates at when it's on. Same for your vacuum, but you can see, you're watching a movie, and you go make some popcorn. You turn that microwave on, chat's on. That's going to interfere with that signal. Same with cordless phones. All right, let's scroll down. Bluetooth. What's the IEEE standard for Bluetooth? 802.15, more specifically 802.15.1. Now this operates in a similar frequency band to 802.11 wireless. This is from 2.4 to specifically 2.485 frequency band or frequency range. Now which network frequently uses 802.15 or Bluetooth? PAN, which stands for?
Personal area network.
Personal Area Network. Very good. Now, one of the ways that Bluetooth works is it operates on different channels. Let's say we've got 2.401, 2.422, 2.443, 2.457. These aren't accurate, but 2.4, what does that go up to? 8567. Why not? Well, what it does is AFH, adaptive frequency hopping, is when you're pairing up your device, because there's these different channels, they're going to find a channel, and at the same time, they're going to randomly go between these frequencies to limit interference from other devices. They're both hopping between these specific frequencies. They're not going in order, right? They're randomly determining, or not randomly, there's an algorithm, but those frequencies. So that way, if you've got multiple Bluetooth devices, since you and your headphones are paired up to Bluetooth, and you're both hopping between these frequencies, and let's say you've got a wireless keyboard. Well, that and your keyboard are hopping at different frequencies, limiting the likelihood of interference in them both being on the same one. If they are, it'll only be temporarily. Hoo-ya? All right, RFID. This frequency band for RFID is 125 megahertz to 960 megahertz. This allows you to uniquely identify items. Shipping. It's going to have a battery that broadcasts a signal up to 100 meters. You can also do this passively, where it's just actively reading the tag when it gets in close proximity. Passive, right? You got to get a lot closer, though, up to 25 meters to be able to scan things. Next, we have NFC, near-field communication. This is a frequency of 13.56 megahertz. Right? This is a subset of RFID. So this is below RFID. There's NFC, right? We know near-field communications. What do we use that for? Tap to pay. It can be on our cards. It could be on our phones, our smartwatches, etc. As long as the technology is on there, that way you get close to it and it can scan the device. Now, we talked about RFID wallets before, right? If you've got your debit or credit card that's got NFC, which is a subset of RFID on it, someone could be in close proximity to you and collect information off of your card. Now, they are trying to change this to allow not all the information to get off. You can't do transactions unless it's activated, etc. But if they still are able to collect information. So you should get an RFID wallet, or you can get these sleeves, aluminum sleeves, that will protect your signal from going out and being collected, especially if you're traveling in foreign areas or places with a large population. Good? RFID wallet right there. Easy day. Next, we have Zigbee and Z-Wave. We've already learned about Zigbee. What's the IEEE standard? 802.15.4. So both of these, Zigbee and Z-Wave, these are standards for IoT devices, Internet of Things. Can someone give me an example of an IoT device? Right here. Thermostat, like your Nest thermostat. A ring camera, your security cameras, your smart toaster. I imagine there's a smart toaster. Smart fridges, etc. So what they really do is they're taking these, you've got smart dishwashers, smart washers and dryers. They're taking these devices that typically don't have an internet connection, and they're allowing them to connect to the internet with a simple control board or PCB. However, because of this, they are significantly less secure. We talked about how IoT devices should be on a separate VLAN, our virtual LAN, for security purposes. Now, for these Zigbee and Z-Wave standards, there's an open source and there is a proprietary or closed source. Which one of these do you think is open source, Zigbee or Z-Wave? Zigbee, right? Because that has an IEEE standard. So Zigbee, the standard is 802.15.4. 15.4. So low data rate, low speed devices. The frequency is from 868 megahertz all the way up to 2.4 gigahertz. However, the range is 10 to 20 meters. Well, you may be thinking, that doesn't make sense. I've been miles away and able to control my thermostat remotely. Well, it's that device that's on that frequency that's then connecting. And once it makes that internet connection, then you can be wherever in the world with an internet connection to control it. Right here.
So Zigbee is like used on devices that normally wouldn't have those features like Bluetooth or.
It's the standard that a lot of people use because it's open source. Anybody can use it.
Oh, okay. Not just for devices that normally wouldn't have Bluetooth. So like, what were you explaining earlier?
So like if you've got a washer and dryer that you can control from your smartphone, that's probably got Zigbee or Z-Wave on it. So that device then can connect to the network on that up to 2.4 gigahertz frequency band so you can control it. Okay. Z-Wave. Well, let's scroll back up. Make sure I'm not missing anything from Zigbee. So the range for Zigbee, we know it's 802.15.4. The range 10 to 20 meters. Data rate 40 to 250 kilobits per second, so a very low data rate. But think, you're not, if you're wanting to start your washing machine remotely, you're not streaming a movie to your washing machine, right? All you're doing is sending enough data so it can start or tell you how many minutes it has less. It's not very much data needed at all for these things, so that data rate is okay. And Zigbee can connect about 65,000 devices. If you've got that many smart devices in your home, that's a lot. But maybe you've got a lot of smart bulbs. Z-Wave, this is proprietary, created by a company or owned by Silicon Labs. Since this is proprietary, does it have a IEEE standard? No. It was open sourced in 2016 to allow more people to use it. The frequency range, 865.2 megahertz. But it is different in different countries. For example, in India, it's 922 to 926 megahertz. In Japan, it's different. In North America, it's 908.42 megahertz. This is because the frequency bands have been opening up and different countries have been doing different things, right? So the country, whatever you're in, it's going to change for Z-Wave. Now the data rate for Z-Wave is different, 9.6 to 100 kilobits. What was Zigbee? Anyone remember? Let's scroll up. Zigbee, the data rate. 40 to 250 kilobits per second. Z-Wave is 9.6 to 100, so slower. And how many devices could Zigbee connect? 65,000. Z-Wave can connect up to 232 devices. When it's a part of a WMN, or wireless mesh network. Questions on these? IoT, Internet of Things, and the smart home is becoming significantly more popular. And there are new standards coming out. They're not covered in this course. And we can scroll down some more. Cellular generations. So these are your smartphones. So let's start with 1G. If we click on that, the first generation of cell phones. That's what the G stands for, generation. It only had voice call because back then, that's all you used a phone for, was to call people. TikTok didn't exist. When 2G came along, now instead of just having analog voice in the first generation, you've got digital voice that was supported with 2G. You could do conference calls now, so you could talk to multiple buddies at the same time, and caller ID. It wasn't until 2G that you could know who is calling you. right? Otherwise, you had to pick it up every time. You're like, is this my mom or is this a telemarketer? I don't know, right? Speeds, less than 9.6 kilobits per second. Imagine how long that would take to get on the internet these days. But you didn't need much data, right? Just enough to get the call information, etc. 2.5G. All right, 2.5G. Now you could actually get on what was called and is called the internet. You could do short audio and video clips, games. You could download what were called ringtones or ringbacks. Does anyone remember those? So if you called somebody and they didn't answer, it would play a song, but they had to pay for it for you to listen to that song. So the market was changing with the technology and taking advantage of what they could do. Speeds, 9.6 kilobits to 237 kilobits per second. Super fast, right? No, this is very slow. Does anyone remember when 3G came out? Shatson, you remember when 3G came out? No? 3G was kind of a big deal, right? So if we click on 3G, now you had full motion video. Now you could watch a video on your phone, on the go. You didn't have to be on a computer. And it had faster web browsing. And now our speeds that allowed us to do this were 144 kilobits per second up to 2 megabits per second. That's right, up to. And this is how your internet service providers get you, right? Oh, you're paying for speeds up to 100 megabits per second. That doesn't mean you're going to get it, right? Like when you're on the interstate, you can go up to 65 miles an hour. Not above, well, you're not supposed to, right? But if there's a lot of traffic, are you going 65? No. All right, 3.5G. Now you had high quality video streaming, you had video conferencing, and VoIP, voice over IP, for even clearer voice calls. This added an IP address to your call. And your speeds, a huge increase here with 3.5G, 400 kilobits to 16 megabits. We probably have more people that remember when 4G came out, right? Is that a big deal? Big deal when 4G came out?
Yes.
So 4G, now you had IP-based voice. You had a lot more gaming services. You had high-quality multimedia streaming. Now you had IPv6 support for 128-bit hexadecimal address. When it was first announced in 2008, nobody could even do 4G. They got a little bit ahead of the curve. The speeds were 5.8 megabits to 672 megabits per second.
So by that hours when it looks for this technology.
Correct. Yeah. Let's go to LTE, long-term evolution. So this is a designation for 4G. So because when 4G came out, you probably remember, it's 4G, right? Verizon's the first 4G network. AT&T has the fastest 4G network. There's a whole bunch of lies, right? They weren't able to meet the standard. So 4G LTE was the designator that, yes, it does meet those standards. Specifically, it significantly increased the data speeds when you're moving at high speeds. Now, why is that relevant if you're on a phone? Well, most people are using them when they're in vehicles. I mean, not texting, but maybe your phone's over here, you're not touching it, and it's streaming a video or music. Does that make sense? Okay, or you're using maps, right? But at high speeds, cellular is important. So this is a big jump where now, okay, if I'm stationary on my phone, I get a lot better signal than if I'm moving. But with LTE, it allowed the speeds to be a lot better when you're moving at high speeds. Good to go? So when you are stationary, you get speeds up to 1 gigabit per second, the fastest yet. And when you're on the go, you're mobile, 50 to 100 megabits per second. Who ya? All right, 5G. We probably remember when 5G came out. That's big. And it's still being disseminated, installed all over the world. So this is ratified in 2018. Now you had support for AR and VR that we talked about, augmented reality and virtual reality. Which one, AR or VR, puts you in a completely different environment? VR, virtual reality. Which one would take like this room and add a butterfly floating in? AR, augmented reality. Very good. Now, this had specific things for the smart home, for IoT, so that way you can transfer data between a lot of devices. Your speed for 5G, 400 megs, now up to 3 times as fast as 4G, 3 gigabits per second for download, right? For getting from a server to loading a video, downloading a song. But if you're uploading something, right, like you're making a Facebook post or uploading a Instagram selfie, uploading to the server, those speeds are 500 megs to 1.5 gigabits per second. And 6G. Do we have 6G yet? No, right? And that's not going to come for a long time. It's currently in development. We're going to watch a video. So they're still working on that. Who, yeah? Oh, you're good. Don't hit that. Here, just let me sit here for a second.
Every new generation of wireless networks delivers faster speeds and more functionality to our smartphones. 1G brought us the very first cell phones, 2G let us text for the first time, 3G brought us online, and 4G delivered the speeds that we enjoy today. But as more users come online, 4G networks have just about reached the limit of what they're capable of at a time when users want even more data for their smartphones and devices. Now we're headed toward 5G, the next generation of wireless. It will be able to handle 1,000 times more traffic than today's networks, and it'll be up to 10 times faster than 4G LTE. Just imagine downloading an HD movie in under a second, and then let your imagination run wild. 5G will be the foundation for virtual reality, autonomous driving, the Internet of Things, and stuff we can't even yet imagine. But what exactly is a 5G network? The truth is, experts can't tell us what 5G actually is, because they don't even know yet. But right now, there are 5 brand new technologies emerging as the foundation of 5G. Millimeter waves, small cells, massive MIMO, beamforming, and full duplex. First up, technology number 1, millimeter waves. Your smartphone and other electronic devices in your home use very specific frequencies on the radio frequency spectrum, typically those under 6 gigahertz. But these frequencies are starting to get more crowded. Carriers can only squeeze so many bits of data on the same amount of radio frequency spectrum. As more devices come online, we're going to start to see slower service and more dropped connections. The solution is to open up some new real estate. So researchers are experimenting with broadcasting on shorter millimeter waves, those that fall between 30 and 300 gigahertz. This section of spectrum has never been used before for mobile devices, and opening it up means more bandwidth for everyone. But there is a catch. Millimeter waves can't travel well through buildings or other obstacles, and they tend to be absorbed by plants and rain. To get around this problem, we'll need technology number 2, small cell networks. Today's wireless networks rely on large, high-powered cell towers to broadcast their signals over long distances. But remember, higher frequency millimeter waves have a harder time traveling through obstacles, which means if you move behind one, you lose your signal. Small cell networks would solve that problem, using thousands of low-power mini base stations. These base stations would be much closer together than traditional towers, forming a sort of relay team to transmit signals around obstacles. This would be especially useful in cities. As the user moved behind an obstacle, his smartphone would automatically switch to a new base station in better range of his device, allowing him to keep his connection. Next up, technology number 3, massive MIMO. MIMO stands for multiple input, multiple output. Today's 4G base stations have about a dozen ports for antennas that handle all cellular traffic. But massive MIMO base stations can support about 100 ports. This could increase the capacity of today's networks by a factor of 22 or more. Of course, massive MIMO comes with its own complications. Today's cellular antennas broadcast information in every direction at once, and all of those crossing signals can cause serious interference. Which brings us to technology number 4, beamforming. Beamforming is like a traffic signaling system for cellular signals. Instead of broadcasting in every direction, it would allow a base station to send a focused stream of data to a specific user. This precision prevents interference and it's way more efficient. That means stations could handle more incoming and outgoing data streams at once. Here's how it works. Say you're in a cluster of buildings and you're trying to make a phone call. Your signal is ricocheting off of surrounding buildings and crisscrossing with other signals from users in the area. A massive MIMO base station receives all of these signals and keeps track of the timing and the direction of their arrival. It then uses signal processing algorithms to triangulate exactly where each signal is coming from and plots the best transmission route back through the air to each phone. Sometimes it'll even bounce individual packets of data in different directions, off of buildings or other objects to keep signals from interfering with each other. The result is a coherent data stream sent only to you. Which brings us to technology number 5, full duplex. If you've ever used a walkie-talkie, you know that in order to communicate, you have to take turns talking and listening. That's kind of a drag. Today's cellular base stations have that exact same holdup. A basic antenna can only do one job at a time, either transmit or receive. This is because of a principle called reciprocity, which is the tendency for radio waves to travel both forward and backward along the same frequency. To understand this, it helps to think of a wave like a train loaded up with data. The frequency it's traveling on is like the train track. And if there's a second train trying to go in the opposite direction on the same track, you're going to get some interference. Up until now, the solution has been to have the trains take turns or to put all the trains on different tracks or frequencies. But you can make things a lot more efficient by working around reciprocity. Researchers have used silicon transistors to create high-speed switches that halt the backward roll of these waves. It's kind of like a signaling system that can momentarily reroute two trains so that they can get past each other. That means there's a lot more getting done on each track a whole lot faster. We're still working out many of the kinks with millimeter waves, small cell networks, massive MIMO, beamforming, and full duplex. In fact, all of 5G is still a work in progress. It will likely include other new technologies too, and making all of these systems work together will be a whole other challenge. But if experts can figure that out, ultra-fast 5G service could arrive in the next 5 years.
So obviously that's a little bit of an older video, but it's good to know what kind of technologies came out that allowed 5G to work. So 5, 2, 4. That's where we're at. That's the next section, and we're going to start with a video. Yeah.
A client computer uses client software to request the service of a server. The server computer uses server software to provide services to one or more clients. DHCP, or Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, is a network service that allows a DHCP server to provide addressing information to client computers. This DHCP client has been configured to obtain its addressing information automatically from a DHCP server. This is the default on most user computers and devices. The DHCP client sends a DHCP request message asking the DHCP server for this information. The DHCP server may be a local router or a server computer. The DHCP server will then respond with the appropriate addressing information. This will include a specific IP address for the client and can also include an address for the default gateway and a DNS server. DNS, or Domain Name System, is a network service that provides an IP address for a known domain name, such as a URL. In this example, the user has entered the URL www.neticad.com into a web browser. However, to request this information from the web server, The client needs to know the IP address of the web server. The client sends the DNS server a DNS request message asking for the IP address associated with the domain name www.netacad.com. The DNS server will determine the answer and respond to the client's request with the proper IP address. The client can now send its HTTP request to the www.netacad.com web server. HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is a network service that provides for the delivery of worldwide web messages between a client web browser and a web server. The HTTP client using a web browser requests the information associated with a specific URL from a web server. The HTTP server, or web server, responds by sending the client the files associated with the specific website. This may include HTML code, images, audio, and video.
All right, what do we think of that video?
It looks kind of familiar to the TCP and UDC or UDP.
Similar? So let's talk about some different types of networks. All right, so we've mentioned a server several times in this course. A server offers a service, like a DHCP server offers the service of giving IP addresses to computers that have that service configured. When you go to a website, you're going to a server, to a web server that hosts that website, and you're just accessing the files, the images, etc., the HTML code on that server. A file server allows you to get files, right? Think of Google Drive, OneDrive, etc. So these servers do various things. Now also for us, you probably have your own personal computer, I would imagine, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you've created an account, and if you want to create another account for somebody, you can do that. But then you can't just go to someone else's computer and log in. But you can do that in this classroom. You could log into any computer, and that's because all of these computers are connected to a centralized server that's doing the authorization, authentication for logging in to the network. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, so let's go back. Let's think if we don't have a server on our network, that's what's called a peer-to-peer network. The simplest peer-to-peer network is two PCs that are connected to each other. Well, when would you do that? Well, that's what's called probably a LAN party. Has anyone heard of a LAN party before?
Yes.
That's where you get a bunch of friends together and you connect, and instead of playing over the internet, you can play those video games locally there with each other. Easy day? Now let's expand that out. Let's say here, this network here, we've got a printer, a computer, and another computer. Well, if there's no server, then other devices want to access that printer, well, it might need to go through a print server that's going to manage all of those print jobs, the queue, etc. So this client right here typically acts as a client. However, when this computer wants to print something, they've got to go through this printer. On that per request basis, they'll act as a server to be able to print that out. However, all these computers, they're sharing files, resources. It's Lord of the Flies. There's nobody in charge doing anything. That's why a client-server model is going to be better for centralized administration to ensure that security policies are the same for every single device. You've got somebody in charge that's going to say, oh no, this is the policy we follow. We do this. You want to join? Here you go. Does that make sense to everyone? Awesome. So the different servers, Oh, we've talked about all these before. Easy day? All right, let's move on. Question in the back, Davia.
So say when it sends the message to thing, and this is a question, if it gets lost to the other computer because it acts like another server, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
If it gets lost, is it able to send another request to?
Well, it depends. If that's separate from this, that's if it's using TCP, it'll resend.
Okay.
Good? Okay. Grace.
Like, so when you draw the, like the picture, I'm kind of confused. So, like, so the network interface uses what to get, like, is that where you're saying the DHCP, like, reaches out to the other?
We're going to deep dive into DHCP in a little bit.
I just, like, so when you draw the picture and you saying it's not going through the little middle cloud, like, how is it connecting? That's kind of.
So we're just, so here, right, these topologies, these are just, okay, peer-to-peer, there's no server. Client server, there is a server. So how are the devices communicating? How are they managing, right? Nobody's in charge over here. The server, right? The server's in charge over here. It's going to be a repository for everything. Okay, Kirk? Good?
Stuff on the right is all going to be on the same network, right? They're all going to have similar network addresses on the same range. So it doesn't need anything else.
Chief, will you scroll for me? Yeah. More. Yeah, it's good for a while. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that's good. I'm going to freestyle for a bit. All right, SITs. We inherently want to go to the Nex, get chips, drink Monster all day, be lazy, and get fat, right? So we like automating things. Imagine if every new computer or whatever, you had to go log in to this computer, put an IP address on. Then you had to go to another building, go over here, assign that an IP address, and go to every single one. Instead of or statically, manually assigning IP addresses to every single device, we could do it automatically. What protocol allows us to do that? DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So DHCP port numbers are 6.7 and 6.8. Hooyah? Awesome. Which one is for server? 6.7. Which one's for the client? 6.8. Very good. Okay. Bernie, who is your favorite animated TV show that speaks Spanish, has a monkey named Boots, a backpack? Dora, right? If we want to go exploring on the internet, we need an IP address, right? So DHCP, to get an IP address, to go exploring on the internet, we need an IP address. We do that with what's called the DORA process. How do you spell DORA? D-O-R-A. Very good. So this is all for DHCP, of course. So the DHCP D is discover, or discovery. O is offer. R is request. And A is acknowledge, or acknowledgement. So this is the DHCP process. Now, to help us understand what's going on through this process, we're going to use a A unique analogy. Watkins has volunteered as tribute. If it goes too far, he's going to stop me. All right, Watkins is married, right? Awesome. But now he's in the Navy. He's about to see world. Or see the world, right? Go to all these different countries, see all these different people. So maybe he decides, hey, I'm going to get a divorce. So that's what we're going to do in this situation, right? Watkins isn't married. He's single now. What's he going to do? He's going to go tell who, hey, I'm single and I'm ready to mingle. Who's he going to tell? He's going to tell everybody, right? He's going to tell everybody. Now, we've talked a little bit before about different types of messages. Unicast, multicast, and broadcast. Which one of these goes from Watkins to everybody? Broadcast. A broadcast is one to all. Multicast is one to many, but not all. Unicast, one to one. Awesome. So, first thing Watkins is going to do is say, hey, I'm single. I'm ready to mingle. Who wants to go to, where do you want to take a potential date to dinner?
Fogo de Chao.
You said Waffle House?
Fogo de Chao.
Fogo de Chao.
Fogo de Chao. Waffle House.
Waffle House. Awesome. It is the finest cuisine of Florida. So why else would you want to? Yeah. What time you want to take these potential dates to Waffle House?
Probably like when the most fights happen, like 8 p.m.
Okay, 8 p.m. Waffle House. So he sends this broadcast message out. Hey, whoever wants to go on a date, I'll be at Waffle House at 8 o'clock. Be there or be square, even though it's hip to be square. Huey Lewis in the news. All right. Who is going to respond? Is he going to get any responses? No. Okay, possible, right? If he doesn't get any responses, is Watkins going to get deterred? No. No. Boom. He's going to send out another, hey, maybe you didn't hear me. 8 o'clock, Waffle House. And he'll do that a few times, right? DHCP will do that for about 5 minutes before it gives up. Now, so he sends this broadcast out. Hey, whoever wants to go on a date, Waffle House, 8 o'clock. Now, let's say he does get a response back. Who's responding back to Watkins? Give me some names.
Brittany.
All right, I heard Brittany. I heard Jackson. Davis, I heard. Carrillo.
This ain't that kind of name.
Watkins, you want some more names up there?
Beyonce.
Beyonce. I got a joke. Do y'all like Beyonce? Yeah. Whatever floats your boat. Or I guess that would be buoyancy. Okay. So, Watkins, right? He sent this broadcast. Hey, everybody, whoever wants to go to Waffle House, 8 o'clock, be there. All these people responded. Are all these people going to go to Waffle House? No? So what does he have to do? He's got to choose. He's got to choose one. Highlander. There can only be one. So, Watkins, most important decision of your life. Brittany, Jackson, Davis, Carrillo, Beyonce, who you want to take to Waffle House?
I mean, if I like it, I think I'm going to put the ring on Beyonce.
Beyonce. All right, so Beyonce offered. So, are you going to, so what do we have to do now, right? He got all these people. Hey, yeah, I'd love to go to Waffle House with you at 8 o'clock. So who is he going to tell that, hey, I chose Beyonce?
Jay-Z.
Is he just going to tell Beyonce? If he just tells Beyonce, what's Brittany, Jackson, Davis, Carrillo going to think? The plans are still on. And then everyone's going to show up at Waffle House at 8. Is that going to go well? No. Absolutely not, right? So the request, hey, Brittany, thanks for your interest. Everyone else, thanks for your interest, but I'm going to take Beyonce. All right, weirdest text I've ever got, but thanks for me avoiding that, right? Make sense? So that's a broadcast message. And then Beyonce's going to respond, hey, thanks. Just confirming again, 8 o'clock Waffle House. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, awesome. Now, let's go away from this analogy and think about what's happening when we need an IP address. Now, this is for what protocol, the DORA process? DHCP. And that's in order to get what? An IP address. So to get an IP address, let's also get a subnet mask. Who remembers what our subnet mask does? Says what network we're on, right? The network and the host portion. Is that what you're going to say, Abdul Shakur? You got scared? Oh, don't be scared. Awesome. So we get an IP address. We get a subnet mask. It's also going to give us a default gateway. Our default gateway is on what device? The router, right? So that's our default gateway. That's how we get out of our network, that IP address on that router. So once this process is all done, that's when I'm going to get an IP address, a subnet mask, and a default gateway. Who ya? Awesome. Now there's two types of addresses. We have a layer 2 address. What's our layer 2 address called? Physical address, also known as our MAC address. All right, so this discover message. Let's start with our layer 3 address. All right, so for us to get an IP address, DHCP, DORA, the discover message, this is the client sending a message to the server. Are there any DHCP servers out there? So client to server. Now, since it's going to the server, what's the port number? 67. Good to go? All right. Now, we said, right, layer 3, that's what type of address? IP address. Watkins, hey, who wants to go on a date tonight to Waffle House? Is that a unicast, multicast, or broadcast? That's a broadcast. Easy day? Now, the offer, that's coming from what device? What devices are responding? The server is going to respond to the client. So what's the port number going to be then? 68. Now, that layer 3 address again is what type of address? What's the name for our layer 3 address? IP, aka logical. So that server responding to the client, is that going to be a unicast, multicast, or broadcast address? You might think unicast, right? Because, I'm sending it right back to Watkins. But at this point in time, does Watkins have an IP address? No, because that happens at the very end. So they don't know layer 3 who they're responding to, so that's going to be a broadcast back. Now, when he gets multiple offers back, or even just a single offer, Watkins is responding back, right? So that's client to server again, which is going to be what port number? 67. And who did he tell that he chose Beyonce to? Was it just Beyonce, or was it everybody? Everyone. So what type of message is this? Broadcast. And then Beyonce, right, responds back. Oh, hey, thanks, that acknowledgement. So that's server to client. So what is the port number? 68. Now that response, is that a unicast, multicast, or broadcast? We might think unicast again, but does Watkins have that IP address yet? No, right? So it's got to be a broadcast. And then finally, he'll have that IP address, subnet mask, default gateway. Newton.
Do you have to do this every time does this happen every time you open the internet?
Yeah, so when you boot up your computer, if you have DHCP enabled to get an IP address, this is what's happening in the background.
Does every computer have a DHCP?
Yeah, every computer can be configured to use DHCP. Like all the ones in here, they use DHCP. So if we rebooted all at once, turned off the computer, turned it back on, every single computer would start the DORA process.
So you get a new IP address every time you turn on the
Hypothetically, right? You could get a different one. You could get the same one.
So that's not standard, so what would be the standard, like, process, I guess?
This is the standard process. Yep. Now, what you're doing is you're leasing an IP address. You're borrowing an IP address, right? So just like if you're at an apartment, you sign a lease. Do you wait until the day before the lease expires to sign the new lease? No, right? Because they want to make sure if you're not going to be there, someone else is. So when your IP address lease expires, it's not going to wait till then. Beforehand, right? It'll send out a request and acknowledgement, but we'll get into that later. Tucker.
Why is in the graph on that it kind of says you can use this IP configuration for 3 days? Why is it letting you have to put out?
Don't worry about that. It depends on what you set it as. All right, let's think about our layer 2 address. Our layer 2 address is what address? Your MAC address, aka physical. So let's figure out broadcast or unicast. Now, your MAC address we'll learn in Chapter 6, that's unique to your device, that's not changing. So when Watkins sends out that, hey, who wants to go on a date? That goes to everybody, right? So that's a broadcast, right? But now when he sent that out, his MAC address was the source MAC address. So when those servers or those people wanting to go on that date are responding, he doesn't have an IP address, so layer 3, it's a broadcast, but they know the layer 2, it came from that device. So they can send layer 2 exactly to that device, which is a unicast. Now, when he's choosing Beyonce, he's got all those options, right? Remember, that's a broadcast. That goes to everybody. So layer 2, for your request, that's going to be a broadcast as well. And just like before with our offer, because in that request, he had a unique source MAC address, so we can send it directly back to him. This acknowledgement from the server to the client is going to be a unicast address. And then you've got an IP address. Now, if you need to extend the lease on your IP address, it's a little bit different. Because, well, you've already, let's say you go on that date with Beyonce, and you want to go on a second date. Do you tell Davis, Carrillo, Brittany, all of them, like, hey, the date went great, everybody. Do you want to go on a second date with me? And do you keep that dialogue open for everybody that was initially interested? No, it just is between you and Beyonce, right? So then after that's established, when you want to renew your lease or extend your lease, those will be unicast messages, and that would just be request and acknowledge. Hey, Beyonce, you want to go on a date again? Unicast. Unicast. And then the acknowledgement, right? Her response, that's going to be unicast as well once we've established. Who ya?
So the blue is to basically.
Once we've got, this is the, like you signed a lease for an apartment.
You just want to renew the lease.
And you want to renew the lease, you know you want to stay there another year, boom, request, acknowledge.
You talking to one person. You talking to that one
Person, yep, correct.
What's L3 again?
Say again?
What's L3 again?
Layer 3 is our IP address. IP, aka logical. Layer 2 is MAC, aka physical.
See, I understand it as a whole, so no, that's okay.
Also, so your layer 2, basically every time you the server sends back to the client, it's going to be unicast every time.
If we've already established that connection, and if it's renewal, yeah.
Because he doesn't have an IP address.
Oh, that'd be TCP later, but. All right, this image is just doing what we talked about for this process, right? DHCP offer, request, acknowledge, of course, discovery. We good?
So does the server already have the IP?
So it's a DHCP server, right? So when somebody configures it, like you want to get a lease at an apartment. Well, that apartment exists, and they know, right, which apartments are available, right? So the same thing with that DHCP server. It knows the range of available IP addresses it can give out and which ones are available. And it'll give that IP address, it'll lease it out to you for a certain period of time. And then it'll renew, right, with the request acknowledge. Yeah?
How do you get a MAC address?
We're going to learn about that in a later chapter. It,
Automatically has a MAC address?
your MAC address is also what's called your BIA, your burned-in address. It's burned into your NIC, your network interface card. So your NIC has your MAC address attached to it. And we'll deep dive into that in later chapters.
Can I ask like a side question?
Sure.
I checked my system information. It says I have 4 NICs.
Yep.
Why would that be?
Wired, wireless. If you've got a virtual machine, you'll have a virtual NIC, etc. Okay. We're going to learn about command lines later. So you can see in your IP information how long you've had your lease for your IP address. Tucker.
Could you explain why this uses UDP instead of TCP?
It's faster.
Faster.
Yep. So imagine all the devices in here, we lost power. And then all the devices came up. Every single one is going to start with a discover broadcast message. That's a lot of traffic, right? Well, imagine instantaneously everybody leaves base. Now, that's going to take a while, right? But imagine everybody's got compact cars versus a bus. What's going to take longer? The buses, right? TCP has more overhead. It's going to put more traffic on the network, right? I just want to, hey, Watkins, he's just like, hey, anyone want to go on a date? Anyone go on a date? He's not like Beyonce. I got to get her number, make sure she gets this message. It's just, hey, anybody, I don't care too much. I just want to go on a date with anyone. You're going to send this message out several times. If you don't get a response, hey, are there any DHCP servers out there? I need an IP address. No response. You're going to send it again. You're going to send it again. So it's UDP. Good? Cerna.
Overhead is the amount of like time it takes to process that information.
Excess. Imagine you buy a marker from Amazon. They put it in a small envelope and put in some packaging. That's the overhead, is the envelope.
Okay.
Now imagine they put it in a massive box. That's a lot more overhead, right? Unnecessary. Or this is the ultimate thing that you're looking for. That package helps you get to the destination, but that size can be different. The overhead can be different.
And was it UDP?
UDP has less overhead. Correct. Schreier.
This is basically a way for us to conceptualize how it does what it does, like the DHCP.
The DHCP process. To obtain an IP address, this is the process DHCP does. Discover, offer, request, acknowledge. Good, Schreier?
This is how it does it automatically.
Correct, automatically. This is what's happening, right? Your computer turns on. Hey, I'm new to the network. I need an IP address. It sends a discover message. Are there any DHCP servers out there? And then maybe you get an offer back. And then, oh, okay, hey, I got an offer. Let me officially request you to be my DHCP server. Oh, and I acknowledge that official request.
So it's kind of like getting a job.
Yeah, back and forth. All right, let's scroll down. All right, this is Wireshark. We're not going to talk too much about this now, but Wireshark is a packet analyzer. Anytime that a packet goes through a network, you can analyze it and see the traffic going through. We're going to look at this a lot more in CCNA. All right, for the renewal process, you've already got a IP address. Well, it just does the last 2 steps, right? Hey, I'd like to sign another year for this apartment. Well, you don't tell every apartment in the area, right? You just go to that leasing office, you tell that individual, and they say, oh, yep, here you go, sign here. Same thing. DHCP request, I've already got an IP address. These are going to be unicast because you know who they are. And the acknowledgement, unicast back. Good? All right, any questions, comments, concerns? Do we need a break? No? All right, let's keep going. I go to netacad.com. First, in the back. Your computer screen froze. Have you checked your cables? Let's wait until a break to address that, right? But we're going to do some troubleshooting first. All right. Let's say I go to netacad.com. cs.com. Right? I'm able to put in that URL instead of an IP address, even though I'm going to an IP address of a server. What protocol allows me to put in a URL instead of an IP address? DNS, right? Because DNS translates URL to IP address. The port number for DNS is 53. TCP or UDP? Both. It is both TCP and UDP. So let's look at the steps that DNS does. Right? So step 1, it looks at the URL. Step 2, it resolves it. Let's zoom out a little bit. There we go. All right, so step 2. The server is going to match the domain name with an address. Step 3, it's going to send it back. Step 4? So here's what's happening, right? You are the client. You're on your computer. Hey, I'm going to cisco.com. I don't know the IP address for that. So instead of going to cisco.com, you put that packet on hold, and then it goes and sends a request to the DNS server. Hey, do you know what the IP address is for cisco.com? That's step 1. Step 2, the DNS server is going to see and look to see if it knows, hey, cisco.com, this is the IP address. So it looks for that. Step 3, it responds back to the host, yep, this is cisco.com's IP address. And then the computer can then use that IP address for that packet it put on hold and say, hey, go to this IP address. That's the website I'm going to, and they go out. Does that help us? Okay, moving on. Question, Abdul Shakur. Yes and no. Not every time. If you go to a website for the first time, yes. If you go to a website frequently or recently, it'll put it in your DNS cache. Oh, like us in here, right? We go to netacad.com all the time. It'd be ridiculous if every single day, every time you went to a different one, it did a DNS query. You can think of it like that, but, oh, I already know this answer, right? Like, for example, exactly. Memory, right? Like I'm memorizing your names and putting it in my cache because I use it a lot, right? But that's what we're going to do next. So if we scroll down, next, I believe, is record types. But first, Tucker. Yes, yep. All right, there are different types of, first, Newton.
What was the step 4 and step 5?
Well, step 5 was, let's scroll up, step 5 was actually sending the packet out.
And then what was 4?
Resolving DNS address. Newton, good?
Sure, yes.
Does it sound like, what was the question again?
What was step 4?
Step 4?
Because it says resolving DNS address. It says it on all of them, though.
So let's start at step 1. Let's click step 1.
See?
Right? It's going to send it out. Step 2. The server matches. So step 1, the client sends a request to the DNS server. Step 2, the DNS looks for the match. Step 3, it sends it back to the client. Step 4, oh, I guess step 4 is it sent back to the client. What's step 3? Go back. It's the query. It's just a back and forth. Yep, DNS query is 3. 4, the query response. And 5, it's resolved.
So it's sent as an IP address and it shows as a URL.
You type a URL, This is what's going on in the background. You'll still see the URL, but the computer in the background gets the IP address that it needs to go to. All right, let's talk about DNS records. There are different types of DNS records. Now, how DNS works is it's a query. Hey, I have a question for you, and the DNS server has the response. So it's a question and response. Like, hey, what is the IP address for Cisco.com? That's the query. That's the request. That's the question. Now, in the queries, there's different types of records. So for example, an A record is for IPv4. 4 A's, AAAA, or quad A is for IPv6. So if you want to resolve a IPv6 URL, that'd be a quad A record. MX is for mail exchange, for email, for the domain name of email servers. TXT is for text, provides textual information about those devices, about that server or the network. And one that's not on here that will repeat in CCNA is NS. That's for authoritative name server. Because there's not one DNS server that has all the answers for every IP address for every website on the internet. Right? So there's kind of a hierarchy that's built that we'll learn about later. So they can, hey, I don't know the answer. We'll go there, right? So for example, Schreier is our MA. If he doesn't know something, who is he going to go to? McCants, the class lead. If she doesn't know, she's going to go to the instructor, chief, or myself, right? It's a hierarchy. We always go up, right? So if a DNS server doesn't know the answer to a query, it's got another DNS it can point to. So that's NS, authoritative name server. Say again? Mail exchange. Domain names for email servers.
Maybe they're not quite understanding.
This slide, the steps don't work too well.
Yeah.
She didn't need to know all 5 steps. It breaks it up incorrectly.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah, we've talked about that several times. Somebody had a question?
I think I understand now. So
Yeah.
DNS literally only finds that IP address and then the DHCP assigns it? Is that, am I misunderstanding?
So, yeah, let's go back. Each computer needs an IP address, right? So if your computer needs an IP address, it can use DHCP to automatically get an IP address. Now, if you're going to Facebook.com, Google.com, that's going to be a static IP address. That IP address is not going to randomly change, right? So, but you as the user, you go to a website, you don't know the IP address. You can go to whatever website you want to, right? Netacad.com, Cisco.com, there's millions of them. Now those servers, those web servers, they're actual end devices as well. They have IP addresses. So to find out what that IP address is, you use DNS. Hey, this URL, what is the IP address? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, we'll talk about spam, not just a delicious breakfast item. What are we talking about with spam? Junk mail, right? Could be specifically for our email, right? So let's look at some features. We have SPF, Sender Policy Framework. This is a text resource that identifies specific SMTP servers. Remember, that's port 25 to send to server and server to server. It has the IP address of that known email server. So to ensure that you're only receiving legitimate emails from a legitimate email server, not from an illegitimate one, where you'd most likely get spam from. So SPF, Sender Policy Framework, can only be one of these per network. DKIM, Domain Keys Identified Mail. This is a more advanced version of SPF, so more advanced than SPF. So it has authentication with cryptography built in. So someone can't just say, oh, yep, I'm a legitimate email server. Well, no, you're going to use authentication with cryptography now to verify it. You can either have both an SPF and a DKIM, or you could just use a DKIM. And then we have a DMARC. This is domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. This is a further enhancement of both of them. And it has additional policy information. For DNS queries, it allows you to customize and set specific things to ensure, right, for your DNS that it's going to follow a specific path and whatever your local or your command policies are. So this is useful for various attacks because if you go to netacad.com and it redirects you to a different website, a different false IP address, that could be a bad thing, right? Because you're just browsing the internet, you type in a URL, you don't know what's happening in the background, you don't want that incorrect IP address associated with that URL. All right, we'll scroll down. Moving on. 5255, print servers. So most environments, each computer is not going to have its own printer. In fact, where we work, right, there's almost all of the computers are connected to several printers. If everyone prints, that's a lot to manage. If you send a job to the printer, well, the printer can't store indefinitely jobs, and it can't store a lot of jobs all at once. However, if you have a print server, it can manage all of those print jobs for you. So this print server, a dedicated print server, or just a print server in general, can do three things. It can provide the computer or the client's access to the printers. It can administer jobs. It holds them in a queue, in a line, and then once it's that next job's turn, it'll print that next job. And when it does printing, that's called spooling. So it will spool the next job or hold them in a queue until it's spooled. And finally, it'll provide feedback to the users. You can see if your print job has been spooled yet, which means printed, if it's been printed. You can also see where you are in the queue, how many resources the printer has left, like if it's low on any ink or toner, etc. Questions on print server? Spooling is printing. And we do the chapter on printers. That should make some more sense.
So
Cerna.
this is just for like high traffic areas where there's going to be a lot of.
So you at your house, your apartment, right? You're not going to need a print server because you're just printing probably one at a time. But in here, right? If we'd probably at the MWR, they'd have a print server, etc.
Maybe like a library or something?
Library where you've got lots and lots of users that a lot of people can print. All right, file servers. We talked about FTP, file transfer protocol, to move files between a client and a server, to store files there. What's the port number for FTP? 20? Or 21. Very good. We have FTPS secure, or FTP is inherently not very secure. So the secure protocols for transferring files, we've got FTPS, File Transfer Protocol Secure, and it's going to encrypt the session for that file transfer. It's going to encrypt it. SFTP, SSH File Transfer Protocol. Well, this uses SSH. Now remember, SSH is port 22. It's secure because of authentication and encryption. So this SFTP, this is an extension of the SSH protocol. And then you have secure copy, right? Where you're copying files, not moving them. You're copying it from one location to another, and that also uses SSH, and that's SCP secure copy.
SFTP does what again?
SFTP?
No, SCP? Just copy.
It just copies it, right? Copy it from here and place it here as well. So there's a copy here and a copy here. It's duplicating it. And in that transfer of that copy, it uses SSH so it's encrypted and secure.
So is SFTP, it's established in the transfer, and then FTPS is using that?
Are you looking down here?
I'm using
Ignore this. Just this, right? These are all secure ways, right? FTPS encrypts. Both of these, SFTP and SCP, use SSH. This transfers a file. This copies a file.
Okay.
Give you all a second to write, and then we'll go down into FTP. All right, FTP, File Transfer Protocol, has 2 ports. What are they? 20 and 21. Very good. So if you need to do FTP, you need to transfer these files. What's going to happen every single time is it's going to open up port 21 first. That is the control connection. That's the first connection. You're going to send commands through that to the FTP server. Hey, this is your request. I need this file, etc. On port 20, that's where the file or the data is actually sent back on, is port 20. So 20 and 21, 20 is for data, 21, that's opened first, that's for the connection, for the commands. Hey, the request to the server, this is the file I need, could you get it for me? Go here, get it, and on 20, it sends it back. Now remember, this has to be done every time you want a file. Opens 21, opens it up, sends the request, sends it back on port 20. Closed. Another request. Oh, I need this file now. Oh, open up 21, send the request. Hey, this is what I need. Send it back on 20. Closes it. Does anyone remember which protocol allows for long-term communications? It's port 445. SMB, server message block, allows us to do those long-term communications. Hooyah? All right, let's go down. What is after FTP? It is, a web server. So of course we know, we've talked about, when you go to a website, you're really going to an end device, a server that's hosting that web page. There's different protocols. Hypertext Transfer Protocol is port number 80 or 8080. HTTPS, or secure with authentication encryption, is port 443. Hooyah? All right, now there are different parts. If you look in your web browser, part 1 is that protocol. HTTP, that tells us it's port number 80 or 8080. The next part is the name of the server. And then after that, we have the file name. So if we go onto our web browser, we can see different things. Let's see if we can go to the Corey Station YouTube channel. Not a sponsor. Here it is, right? So here's the protocol, HTTPS. This is the domain, right? And then this is the specific file to watch ITE chapter 5.1. We see that? Ends in K0Q. 5.2, same thing, same protocol, HTTPS, the domain name, and then a different file to watch that video. So when you're going to a website, what you're doing, right, you're saying the protocol, the name of the server, the device, the URL, and then the actual file that you're going to request that HTML code for. We see those 3 parts? When we get into command prompt, we'll revisit this to show directories, folders, files. All right, if we scroll down a little bit, we can see the process. So here on the left, we have the server, and on the right, the client. So if we scroll down some more, step 1, the user is going to put in a URL in their web browser. And that client is then going to request, hey, can I get this web page? You've already done DNS at this point, right? So you're going, hey, I need to go to this server. Can I get this file? So that's step 1. The client initiates the request. Step 2, that HTTP or that web server gets it and is going to respond with the HTML or HTML5 code back to the client. And then step 3, when the client gets it, they can take that code and then display that web page on your device. So it's a request, a GET request. The server gets it, finds the code for that web page, sends the code back, and then the client then uses that code, de-encodes it so it can display it on the screen. Easy day? All right. Mail servers. Remember these from the other day? Let's drop some servers up here. If I want to be able to send an email, so from client to server, what email protocol is that? 25. Port 25, which is client to server, SMTP. Port number 25. Is that TCP or UDP? TCP, because it's email. We want that entire email, right? All right, SMTP also does what? Starts with an S. Server to server. Retrieving email, client to server. Which one does not leave a copy on the server? Which email protocol is server to client but does not leave a copy? Van Kirk? POP3, very good. Post Office Protocol version 3, port number 110. TCP or UDP? TCP because it's email. All right, which one does leave a copy on the server? IMAP, server to client to retrieve that email, port number 143, TCP or UDP? TCP, of course, because it's email. Easy day? Chang, you with us? Yes. We're bored because we've already seen this before for the email protocols? We have. We saw this, the exact same thing the other day, right? Okay. Let's scroll down. All right, a proxy. Who knows what the word proxy means for IT or not IT? A stand-in. So this is someone that has the authority to act on behalf of someone else or something else. So a proxy server, that's a server that has the authority to act as another server. Well, when would we want to use this, or why would we want to do that?
So if we wanted to control traffic?
Control traffic, exactly. So think about the IT schoolhouse. What website in 502 and in 1099 is every student on basically every shift going to? What website? Netacad. Now, there are data pipes out of the base, right? But if everyone had to go off base, right, to go to netacad.com, and then all those responses had to come back on base, that's a lot of traffic out and back in. What would that do to the speed of the network? Slow it down. So we have a proxy server here on base for Netacad. So we reduce the traffic. We don't have to go all the way out to that Netacad server. We've got one here to make our network more efficient. So a proxy, think of that, someone is able to act on your behalf. Maybe you've got a living will. You go under general anesthesia for a procedure, and you can't make decisions because, well, you're not conscious, right? Or something happens to you. So you've got to have a living will, someone who can make decisions on your behalf. Right? So proxy, someone has the authority to make decisions or to act as that other person. Good to go? So what does the proxy server do? Well, it intercepts the request. It checks to see, oh, has that web page changed? Oh, hasn't changed. If not, it responds with a page. If it has changed, it'll go out to the actual server. It'll update itself, so the proxy server is updated now, and send the information back to the client. How are we feeling about proxy? Good? So it's an intermediary, right? So for us, right, you go to cisco.com. It goes to the proxy server instead of going to netacad.com. The proxy server says, oh, hold up. I might have that. You might not need to go all the way there. Let me see. Oh, that hasn't changed. Here you go. I'll just give you this information.
And that's just used during using cache?
No, it's an actual server. It's a hardware. But you do have cache that you can use as well for frequently visited websites for DNS, etc. All right, moving on. It's crazy, Grace? No. All right, the next thing is AAA. Do y'all have AAA? Are you farmers or progressive? Oh, not that kind of AAA? Okay, progressive. So this is AAA for ITs. AAA stands for authentication, authorization, and accounting. Authentication, authorization, and accounting. You're going to hear about this in ITE in several chapters. We're going to talk about it in CCNA. If you go to sysad, you'll be actually configuring some AAA servers. So AAA, again, stands for authentication, authorization, and accounting. Everybody, what's AAA stand for?
Authorization, authentication, accounting.
Authentication, authorization, accounting. So the best way to think about this is like your debit card. Authentication. What does authentication mean to you? What'd you say, Williams? Sorry, Newton? Johnson Brown? How do I know who he is? Well, authentication, right? Says, right, which individual is which individual. All right, Cerny, what was your question?
Making sure it's like real or no?
Yeah, kind of. So let's think about our debit card, right? Have you ever gone somewhere and you pay with your card and they want to see your ID? Yes. To make sure, right, that you are you, right, that person. So authentication authenticates, yes, that is that person, or identifies that individual. Like your debit card, that name identifies you. Easy day? Authorization, what you can do. So for example, Jackson, could you take your debit card and go out to the Lamborghini and buy a Lamborghini for everybody in the class?
Yes.
Probably not. Why not? Because you don't have hundreds of millions in your bank account, I assume, right? But even if you did, would your bank just allow that purchase to go through? They'd probably limit how much you can do, right? So authorization, what are you authorized to do? So like on a computer, authentication, we use our username and password to log in, or for us, our CAC and our PIN that authenticates to the user. The authorization, what do you have access to? Do you have access to the shared drive? You all do have access to the shared drive, but there's a public and a private folder. You can access the public. Can you access the private? No. But Chief and I, right, we have different authorization. We can access the public and we can access the private. So authentication identifies the user. Authorization, what are you authorized to do? Can you open a file? Can you read it? Can you execute? Can you delete it? Can you modify it, etc.? What do you have the privileges to do? Just like on your credit card, debit card, you go out and try to buy a Lamborghini Maserati. Oh, probably not going to go through, right? Yeah.
The
Yeah, what you can and can't access. And accounting. Think about an accountant. What does an accountant do? Manages. They record everything. Think about your bank statement, right? Every transaction is recorded. Oh, next I bought a donut. Next I bought a Monster. Next I bought a Monster. I went to Corey Grill. I bought a burger. Taco Bell, Taco Bell, Taco Bell. Fortnite or whatever. So it records everything. Now, and then if you tried to go buy that Lamborghini, but it didn't go through, would that show up on your bank statement? It would, right? Even the failed things. So think about users, right? If you try to access something, it's still going to account for, log, or record all of these successful and unsuccessful attempts. Good to go? Okay. So what does AAA stand for again? Authentication, authorization, and accounting. Do we have questions on AAA? Chavez, good? What's it used for? That's a great question. Well, imagine if all these computers in here, if you wanted to create an account, imagine if you had to set up an account on each computer. Instead, you can use any computer in here and log in, because what's happening is that request is going to the AAA server and authenticating that you are who you say you are with authentication. What do you have access to with authorization? And then it's going to log everything with accounting.
Is that kind of like when you have to put your ID into a certain website? Or no?
No, it's to get in access to the devices. Okay. Newton?
Like when you log into the computer, that's AAA?
Yeah, it's going through a AAA server. That authorization, logging into the computer, that's not being done locally. That's going to a AAA server that says, oh, yes, Newton does have access. Log her in. This is what she has access to. Oh, this is, yep, Jackson's in the account, and this is what he has access to. Tucker?
So that explains why I wasn't able to log in when I first got here, because I technically wasn't authorized.
Correct, right? Because Tucker was not originally in this class, right? So we put in the ticket for everyone to get accounts except for Tucker. And most people could log in, but Tucker definitely couldn't, because they had to go in and create his account, and they had to update that server to say, yes, he can get on it. Does that make sense to everyone?
So this is in a network environment, right? Not like if you just set your computer up at home.
Correct, correct. You wouldn't have a AAA server to log into one computer. Yeah.
And then the accounting portion manages data?
It's going to record everything. Successful and unsuccessful attempts. Oh, Tucker put his CAC in, and he tried to log in. It's still going to record that, even if he didn't have an account. Oh, Tucker does have an account. He logged in. It's going to record every successful, unsuccessful, log in, log out, everything you access, etc. How are we feeling? Good? AAA. We'll hear about it again. Moving on. A syslog server. So the AAA server, the A stands for accounting. However, there are a lot of logs or records that are kept in a lot of devices in the network. Firewalls, switches, router, etc. And you wouldn't want to have to, oh, let me go see this device and see what it recorded. Or, oh, I forgot to check this device over here. You could very easily miss something. A syslog server is a centralized, all the logs will go to the syslog server, and they're all kept in one place to ensure you can monitor for centralized monitoring, you can troubleshoot. You're going to one place and you know all the records are there. Instead of, oh, I forgot to check what the router said. I forgot to check what the switch said. Does that make sense to everyone? It's all in one location. Now you're probably going to do backups of this, so that way you don't lose any logs, etc., and those will be kept somewhere else. But that syslog is a centralized location to gather information, to collect data, so you can troubleshoot, so you can record. And these are syslog messages that are kept in the syslog server. So think, Shatson, think logs, right? Those are our records, what we're recording with. Right, like logs, we use logs of wood to make paper. Paper keeps records, right? Awesome. We need more time for this? Yeah? Divya.
Just out of curiosity, where would you go to actually like see the syslog? Like, is that something we have access to, or do you have to have the?
That's a good question. Where would we go to actually see this stuff? So right now we're just learning terms, and then later on, right, C school, you would actually be configuring it and going into this stuff. We're just doing basic stuff like, oh, what is a syslog server? Oh, that's for all my logs for my accounting, a centralized place. You would need credentials to get into it. Yeah.
Kind of off topic from this, but do ITs have to know how to type like quickly and efficiently?
You don't have to, but of course it would make your job easier because you're working on a computer a lot. But you will be typing a lot. What's it start with? Roberts. I cheated. I looked.
So this is off topic, but with command prompt, is that like the closest thing we would do to like programming or like development in IT?
We're going to do command prompt in here later on, and we're going to get into a very light amount of scripting. Don't get too excited. It's not very much at all. All right, let's move on. A load balancer. A load balancer. This is an important device. In here, we've got to do some cleaning every day, right? Do we just wing it, and do we have Burnett clean every single day, everything by himself? No, right? We got to share the load. Now, who's in charge of ensuring that the load of cleaning is equal in here? The MA, the Master at Arms, Schreier. That's right. So think if you've got several servers, right, that are doing things, maybe you've got backup, redundancy, etc., or a web server. Multiple web servers, they all host Facebook, etc. We'd probably have a load balancer before that to make sure that one's not doing all of the work and these other two are just hanging out, sleeping in uniform, doing whatever, right? The load balancer is going to make sure that the work is evenly spread. And that's going to be better for the efficiency of the network, as well as the longevity of the device, because if this is doing all the work all the time, this device is going to have to be replaced sooner versus if it's evenly spread out. Load balancer, easy day? Abdul Shakur, you with us? All right. Industrial control systems, or ICS. So industrial control systems. These are kind of unique situations. If we scroll down, these are going to be for power plants, water treatment. Now, of course, those plants, they've got electronics and monitoring that they need to do of these devices. That's going to be done with what's called an SCADA, a SCADA, a supervisory control and data acquisition system. Supervisory control and data acquisition. These are for ICS, industrial control systems. Nuclear power plants, water treatment plants, energy plants, power suppliers, etc. So the SCADA is going to be able to remotely manage those devices and monitor them. And if we put it in a completely different category, because you wouldn't want, like Zigbee or Z-Wave, or that very unsecure IoT, to be managing the remote devices at a power plant.
Is that just for automation? Like automated machines?
You can automate it, but you can manually control things as well, but it's going to be to monitor, troubleshoot, remotely control, remotely monitor. SCADA. All right, and finally, let's check our understanding for network services. What provides IP addresses to hosts on a network? Oh, we need to scroll back up? All right, we'll scroll back up. Newton, good?
I'm good.
You helping out your shipmate?
Alright. I think we did.
Sir, no more time?
This is 10.
Roberts. No. No, we're not going to learn any HTML. So if you think of IT as this big round circle, right, of things, we just briefly cover each topic. We don't go in depth into anything really too much. We cover a broad range, a lot of topics, but we don't go too in depth into too many of the topics.
What's our most in-depth, do you think?
What's that?
What do you think's our most in-depth topic that you think we learned?
In IT Essentials?
IT or CCNA?
Windows, controlling Windows. All right, let's check our understanding. What provides IP addresses to hosts on the network? DHCP, automatically get an IP address. Port numbers?
6768.
6768, which one's for the server? 67 for the client. 68, now this DHCP process has 4 steps. What are they? DORA. The D is discover, offer, request, acknowledge. What provides the ability to cache web pages for quick access? Proxy, a proxy server. What translates a domain name such as cisco.com to an IP address? DNS. Port number? 53. TCP or UDP? It's both TCP and UDP. What uses protocols such as HTTP and HTTPS to display information in a browser? Web. What provides a method for storing system messages from networking devices? Our syslog server. What uses protocols such as SMTP and POP3 to send and receive messages? Mail. What typically uses a AAA server? Authentication, because AAA stands for authentication, authorization, accounting. What uses protocols such as FTPS, SFTP, and SCP? File. Let's submit. Very good. And that should be it for the longest section in Chapter 5, 5.2. We're going to take a break.